Now with the latest ITV news in the border region with Amy Lee and Ian Payne.
Hello there, welcome to Lookaround with the latest news for Cumbria and the south of Scotland.
On the programme tonight.
We just understand we have to go. And we take just kids and my documents and we left our home.
1 year on, the pain is just as raw. People come together to think of those who've lost their lives and had their lives turned upside down by war in Ukraine.
Also to come tonight, the 3 candidates now officially in the running to be Scotland's next First Minister as the leadership election begins.
Plus, striking gold, we meet the metal detectorists on a mission to unearth Cumbria's hidden history.
There's no feeling that sort of replaces that, you know, the excitement when you're wondering what it is in the hole and then you uncover it and it's either a bit of gold or a medieval coin. It's just thrilling.
And from historic treasures to precious gems, find out about some of the stunning discoveries lying within southern Scotland's landscape. A year ago today, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of its neighbour Ukraine. Within days, many in our region had sent aid to the war-torn country, and hundreds of families have since hosted those fleeing the conflict.
This morning, a 1-minute silence was held in places around our region to remember the tens of thousands who have been killed. Many
who live here in safety are still traumatised by what they've been through. Matthew Taylor reports.
Today was a day for comforting and for support, and Carlisle showed it with a minute's silence, prayers and a wreath to remember the dead. The Ukrainian national anthem was also sung. 1 year ago, Alona Godsup and Katerina Sivaneva and their children had never met, yet here they are together in Carlisle, forced to flee their homes from different parts of Ukraine, thrown together after a savage, almost unimaginable attack on their lives and millions of others like them.
We just understand we have to go. And we take just kids and my documents and we left our home. And 1 year we live here. We try to live here, but here is a nice place, but it's not our home.
The destruction of dozens of towns and cities has inflicted a huge toll on civilians. Homes, businesses, entire neighbourhoods have been destroyed, and loved ones have been separated. Katerina fled with her 5-year-old daughter. She lived in a town which was one of the first to be seized by Russia.
Now Russian government decided that's their territory and no rules, no rights. What they do in our territory is awful. And if I can something to do for my husband or my father, I try. It's our city. What are you doing here? They not listen to us.
In Stranraer, there was a special meal for Ukrainians living in the town with their host families.
My family stay in Ukraine. I worried about it. I remember this day, what happened 1 year ago. In the morning, I hear bombing. Yeah, it's a terrible day.
Artist Veronika Zoldovar has created this, a light display on show at Carlisle's Tully House Museum to commemorate the 1-year anniversary. The theatre where she used to work in Ukraine has been destroyed by shelling.
All life, what you have before, it's broken, and what you did, what you worked, what you're thinking and dreaming about.
It's like your old life has ended with the invasion.
Yes, yes.
And above all, a desperate desire to return and rebuild their lives.
They ask every day when we can come back to Kyiv.
It's, yeah, they're not. They want to go home. You want to go home?
Yes, I want.
Matthew Taylor, ITV News, Carlisle.
Throughout this week, we've been marking a year since the start of the conflict. You will find more coverage online at itv.com/border. Next tonight, an engineer who has spent much of the last 20 years restoring Donald Campbell's iconic boat, Bluebird, has told ITV Border he is keen to return it to Coniston, but only if the right deal is agreed. Legal proceedings were launched yesterday against Bill Smith and his Bluebird project by Coniston's Ruskin Museum. The museum is trying to gain legal possession of the hydroplane in which Donald Campbell died in 1967. They say the legal action was a last resort after years of trying to find a resolution.
We're keen for it to go to the Ruskin Museum as well, but the deal was always that we would look after it, we would be able to operate it and display it on water, we'd keep it absolutely fighting fit, we'd show it off for every new generation, and then we'd put it back in the museum. And we're still all for that, and they can have it in the museum in fairly short order, but it's got to be subject to a proper deal so we get what we were always promised.
Next, the Scottish leadership election has officially begun, with the 3 candidates officially in the running to be the next First Minister. Let's take a look then at who they are. The latest MSP to put her name on the ballot is Ash Regan. Now, she is largely considered the race's outsider. She was the Community Safety Minister, but she quit her ministerial role over the controversial Gender Recognition Reform Bill. Now, she said she will be the person to bring unity back when she launched her campaign today.
The truth is that our movement has been divided for far too long by petty differences and personal agendas. But we can't afford to let these differences tear us apart any longer, and we must come together as one united force for Scotland, because the challenges facing our country are too great for us to face them if we are divided.
And a reminder then of who the other 2 candidates are. Kate Forbes, as we know, is also in the running. She's Scotland's Finance Minister and would be the youngest ever SNP leader if she won. Now, she's been widely criticised for her views on gender and gay marriage, but Ms Forbes says that she's someone who can unite the SNP. And Humza Yousaf is the most high-profile candidate in the race as Scotland's Health Secretary. Leading Scotland's response to the coronavirus pandemic means that he is known throughout the UK, but he's admitted himself that's led people to form negative opinions. He says he has the right experience to make him the best person for the job. All 3 candidates will have a month of campaigning before Scottish National Party members elect a leader. That's on the 27th of March.
You're watching Lookaround. Thank you very much for your company this Friday evening. Still to come on the programme.
We're at Brunton Park to reflect on the transformation at Carlisle United since Paul Simpson returned to manage his hometown club a year ago this week.
And as we head into the weekend, high pressure building across the UK. It's refusing to budge, things settling down. But what other weather is it bringing with it? I'll have the details later.
Next, if you ever fancy getting out and about with a metal detector, perhaps you think it could be your chance at finding a fortune.
Well, the laws around what is defined as treasure are changing. The new rules mean that more artefacts will find their way into museums for more people to see.
Natasha Potts has been to meet a Cumbrian couple who say it's a positive change for their favourite pastime.
Could these fields be hiding historic treasures? Katie and Sheila certainly hope so. They're keen metal detectorists, hoping to unearth precious pieces of history.
Yeah, I think that's probably one for the scrap heap rather than the display cabinet.
Ah well, it can't always be an ancient artefact. But that hasn't dampened their passion for the pastime.
It's exciting when you discover something. There's no feeling that sort of replaces that. You know, the excitement when you're wondering what it is in the hole and then you uncover it and it's either a bit of gold or a medieval coin. It's just thrilling. You could probably dig like 100 holes and then have one good find. You know, we kind of go out for like 8 hours at a time.
And sometimes their determination pays off.
So this is a Bronze Age axe head, and it's approximately 3,000 years old. I think this is one of my favourite things that I've ever found. I mean, when this popped up out the ground, it was just absolute awe seeing this, you know, and being the first person to hold it for that long was such an incredible feeling. I'm really pleased to have been able to bring it back to light again.
By law, all treasure belongs to the Crown, and the people who find it have to hand it over. A discovery was only classed as treasure if it was more than 300 years old and was made of precious metal or part of a hoard. The law is changing, meaning exceptional finds that are 200 years old will be classed as treasure. And it won't matter what type of material the artefact is made of. It's hoped this will help museums get hold of ancient discoveries, rather than them going into private collections. Katie and Sheila say they're in favour of the new rules.
And under the current legislation, you don't have to hand this to a museum. It wouldn't be included under the current legislation. Under the new legislation, what will happen to it now?
So under the new legislation, that there is potential that it could fall under that significant category. But for me as a detectorist, you know, if it did end up in a museum, you know, that would be a positive as well, because then people will get to enjoy it all the same. For me, it really is important that the things that are found do get viewed by, you know, future generations and be enjoyed again, because I think it's important that we learn about our history and our past, and we bring these things back to light for people to enjoy again, you know.
With many secrets still to be discovered beneath the soil, Katie and Sheila say they're delighted that artefacts won't have to be all glitter and gold to be recognised as a priceless piece of history. Natasha Potts, ITV News, West Linton.
Yeah, so metal detecting has become a more popular hobby since lockdown, and with the popularity of shows like Detectorists. Earlier I spoke to Alan Tamblyn from the National Council of Metal Detecting about the changes to the laws around treasure. Alan, first of all, do you think these changes to the law are going to make any difference to people who perhaps want to get into metal detecting? Could it put them off, or might it encourage them to take it up as a hobby and give it a go?
Well, I think the publicity of it will certainly encourage people, but in terms of how it will affect them, you know, coming into the hobby, or indeed our members that are currently detecting, it won't have a big difference. It won't make a big difference at all, because it's there really to capture significant items that aren't covered by the current treasure legislation, and the anticipation is that it'll be no more than about 100 a year. So that you know, with 29,000 members, you can see that 100 finds a year is actually a very small percentage. So it shouldn't affect people very much at all.
Talking about significant finds, Alan, we've seen how metal detecting can be absolutely vital when it comes to discovering and learning about our history. In our region in particular, of course, we had the Galloway Hoard, which was hailed as one of the most important collections of Viking Age objects ever found in Britain. I guess that's a rare example, but that must be what makes this so special. You could potentially find something else like that.
Yeah, you know, it's the thing we all hope for, isn't it? It's the Holy Grail. But the chances of finding something like that are, you know, sort of lottery win proportions. You know, it's a very, very small chance of doing it. But yes, that is what kind of spurs us on. But finding, you know, even a Roman brooch, a Roman coin, or a medieval Hamel coin, you know, is still very, very exciting. You're holding something that no one has held for 500, 1,000 or 2,000 years. And that's the real buzz.
It's become a more popular hobby, Alan, hasn't it? Is it just as simple as being able to get a metal detector and just head out there, find a field and go searching and digging around?
Some people think it is. It absolutely isn't. So anybody that wants to get into metal detecting, or indeed anybody that's just starting out, should go to the NCMD website, and they should join the NCMD. They get all sorts of information and insurance cover, actually, to cover them while they're detecting. You have to have permission from the landowner before you go detecting anywhere. You know, it's illegal to not do that. So that's the first important thing that everybody needs to do: get permission from the landowner before they detect, and come to the NCMD and get all the information from us.
Alan, really appreciate your time today. It's absolutely fascinating, and I totally understand that thrill of finding something that perhaps nobody has ever found before, and I guess, like you said, that's exactly what keeps you going. Some great advice too. Thank you very much, Alan. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a fascinating subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really do like that TV drama, The Detectorists.
Yeah, you're a big fan of that, aren't you?
I really am. Can't recommend it highly enough. If you've not seen it, check it out. It's amazing what you can find underground, and speaking of rare finds, we've been to an unusual museum in Dumfries and Galloway, which is dedicated to gemstones.
Now this year it's celebrating its ruby anniversary. It was set up 40 years ago to give visitors a glimpse at some of the hidden treasures discovered beneath the Earth's surface. Bruce Mackenzie has been along.
For Tim Stevenson, the Gem Rock Museum is much more than a job or a livelihood. Over 4 decades, it has become a tourism institution and a way of life. It all started when he and his family gave up life in Yorkshire to buy an old school building in Cretan, prompted by Tim and his dad's love of shiny things.
Taking over this old semi-derelict building was, I think, seen by our relatives as being a bit of a risky thing to do. We realised that minerals had to be made accessible, they had to be made interesting, and we had to put a bit of a show on. It all began like a big DIY project, really. We were making the displays, we were polishing some of the things to go in the displays. There became a focus on why you were doing it, you know, not simply the actual finding of them, but it was actually acquiring things to make an interesting display of.
It's easy to see why the beautiful minerals and gemstones created by nature have retained a sense of magic and wonder for Tim since he first started exploring them as a child with his late father.
Going out onto a beach or up a mountain, following a stream bed and just seeing what's there. And if you do come across something, it's like finding treasure, you know, and that's sort of you get a bit of a buzz from that. But if you've got a bit of knowledge, you tend to find, maybe subconsciously, but perhaps consciously as well, you'll focus your walk towards somewhere where there will be something interesting to find. So it might be just a beach walk, but you'll probably try and find a beach where there may be a Scottish agates to find, for instance. And finding one, it's a bit pretty exciting, really. I think there's been a change in people's knowledge about gemstones, brought about by games like Minecraft, for instance. Our young audience will come asking questions about, you know, what does obsidian look like in reality and so forth. People that have holidayed in Galloway are very loyal, they love the area and they keep coming back. So we've got families, yes, now bringing their grandchildren, sometimes their great-grandchildren to visit us, which is a follow-on from what they've done for many years. Annual visit to the Gem Rock Museum.
With billions of years of history for each new generation to get their head around, the Gem Rock Museum looks set to be here for some time to come.
And viewers in Scotland can see the whole of Bruce's reports in Border Life at 7 o'clock here on ITV1 this evening.
And the ITV Evening News continues after us with your national and international headlines. Tonight, Charlene has the details.
Coming up, Ukraine 1 year on. Tonight, we've the latest from Kyiv as the first anniversary of the Russian invasion is marked there and around the world. Also ahead, a 3-day strike by junior doctors in England. We'll have the dates and the details, plus...
My word, does victory taste good.
Could Newcastle taste domestic glory for the first time since 1955? We'll have the build-up to Sunday's Carabao Cup clash against Manchester United. So join us for those stories and more from 6:30.
Zero Accounting Software sponsors ITV Regional Sports Report.
We're going to start with football, and Carlisle United travel to Crawley Town this weekend with a chance to move up to second in League Two.
This week saw the anniversary of manager Paul Simpson's return to his hometown club, and in that time, well, the transformation has been nothing short of remarkable.
Attendances at Brunton Park have soared. The atmosphere around the club is positive once more. Ryan Dullard is at the ground to reflect on the Simo effect. So Ryan, just how big a difference has one man had?
Yes, Ian, I think it's very difficult to overestimate the impact Paul Simpson has had on the club in the year since he returned. It truly has been, as Amy said, remarkable. I think perhaps the only thing we could say has stayed the same since this time last year is that there seems to be every chance that Carlisle won't be playing their football in League Two next season. Now, last year that was because they were near the bottom of the table. They looked dead and buried, and it seemed like they were going to slip right out of the Football League. But then enter Simo and everything has changed very rapidly. Now they're very near the top of the table and amongst the real contenders in League Two. It doesn't seem unlikely that they could be in League One next year. Let's not underplay as well how brave Paul Simpson was in coming back. It seemed like a poisoned chalice. He must have been nervous about tarnishing the tremendous legacy he had from his first period in charge of the club in the early 2000s. Back-to-back promotions then, but his stock, if anything, is even higher now. But Simo never one to get big-headed, to revel in the plaudits. He's given all the credit to the players.
The reason why the fans are so positive towards me at the moment is because the players have gone out and done the business and we've won games of football. You know, if I'd have come back in, I would have still been the same person. But if the players hadn't have won, then I wouldn't have got the same sort of reception and feeling towards me that I'm getting at the moment. What I want to do is make sure the players keep going and keep doing it.
Well, yes, I mean, Paul Simpson, very modest there, but really his influence has been profound. He added supporters from the first week he came back. Crowds now up to an average of about 5,000. They got 9,000 for the Barrow Derby. And even just this week, young fans were here at Brunton Park giving up their half-term to give the Warwick Road End a facelift. It seems like supporters have a bit of pride in their club again, and that they really feel positive about their football. We were out on the streets of Carlisle today. No one had a bad word to say about Simpson.
Paul Simpson's amazing. He's absolutely fantastic. He's turned Carlisle United round. He's given us belief in our club. Can't thank the man enough. He's a legend.
I think it's great for the city, you know. I mean, a few years ago they were like down and buried and all that, like, you know, but coming back brings some good things to the area. Football's always a massive thing around this part of the world. So, yeah, happy days. I'm really happy for him.
I think it's great for the city. I'm not massively into football myself, but I think it's great for the city and hopefully will bring, you know, a lot of revenue in and whatnot by boosting the team. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Amazing. He's made such a difference to the club. I think he's brought back a good feeling to the town as well.
Well, what about United's chances tomorrow then? Well, on paper, they're very good indeed. Crawley Town are really struggling. They're in the relegation dogfight at the minute, and it looks like a win should be, well, very doable. But Paul Simpson stresses that football games aren't played on paper, and he's taking nothing away from the challenge Crawley will present. But let's have a look then at the bigger picture. Let's have a look at that league table, and things are very positive. You would think, looking at that Leyton Orient, well, they're probably going to run away with the title, and they've already secured, you would imagine, one of the automatic promotion places. But you'll see that two are still available, and Carlisle United very much in the running for one of those. It seems like the playoffs at least is achievable, and Carlisle United may not need the drama of that to go up.
OK, Ryan at Brunton Park, thanks very much indeed. Enjoy the weekend. In Scottish League One, Queen of the South are at home to table toppers Dunfermline this weekend. They'll have their work cut out for them at Palmerston Park tomorrow. In League Two, Allen Athletic have playoff ambitions of their own. They're away to Albion Rovers. Stranraer welcome East Fife to Stair Park.
On to Rugby League, and Jonty Gawley's Whitehaven are on home turf this Sunday. Haven are still chasing their first win and will be licking their wounds after last weekend's 70-point trouncing by Featherstone. They'll be hoping for a stronger performance against Swinton Lions.
Workington Town have their first competitive game at home this season on Sunday. They're involved in the early stages of the Challenge Cup and will be heavy favourites against the little-known Ince Rose Bridge.
Now we're going to have a look at the Six Nations now. It's going to be a real test for Carlisle's Steve Borthwick in his third game in charge of England. They'll face Wales on Saturday. Borthwick's side disappointed in defeat to Scotland on the opening day of the tournament, which showed improvement in their expected victory over Italy. Defeat tomorrow would leave the English looking in trouble with France and Ireland left to play.
But Gregor Townsend's Scotland still have big dreams. They travel to France with only themselves and Ireland having the chance to pull off the Grand Slam. They'll have their work cut out for them, but it would be foolish to write the Scots off, even away from home, with Finn Russell pulling the strings.
And finally, if you like your cricket, then keep your eye on former Sedbergh pupil Harry Brook, who's made an astonishing start to his Test career. Last night, he scored a rapid and fluid 184 not out in the first innings of England's second Test against New Zealand. He's only a few games into his England career, but he is already looking like as though he will be a big name, remembered long after he hangs up his spikes.
Loads of sport. Ross joins us now for some respite with the weather.
Loads of weather. No, actually, it's really calm. There's not much of the weather at all. So we're looking to the skies. The Carlisle City of Lights continues tonight and into tomorrow as well. Of course, we need the dark skies for that. And the dark skies also giving us a bit of a treat this week. There was a natural light show too. Right above the displays, a conjunction between Jupiter, Venus and a crescent moon caught on camera there. Really actually quite rare to get all three.
Great, isn't it?
It looks
it's nature saying, I like your light display.
That's not.
Look what I can do.
It's part of the light display, but it's not.
No, it's nature doing its thing.
It's just perfect, isn't
yeah,
it?
Absolutely bang on. And you're out with your cameras as well. Some great photos coming in. I don't know how you manage to take photos of things like this, I'll be honest, because I always struggle. Jupiter is the highest dot there, the moon in the middle, funnily enough, and Venus is below. Although the moon has had its moment now, it is Jupiter and Venus left behind. They'll continue to move closer together over the next few days. The two planets reach their apparent closest point at the end of the month and the start of March. We need those clear skies though. Let's take a look.
Mom, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Border Weather.
Plenty of clear skies developing as we head overnight, and thanks to clear skies and some lighter breezes taking us into the early hours, temperatures will be dropping down, a bit of frost around as we head into tomorrow morning. But again, we're looking at sunny spells, generally settled, an area of high pressure starting to build over the UK. Still for now, those winds coming from a northerly, northeasterly direction, dragging in some cloud, a few showers from the North Sea. But with high pressure in control through the next few days, it's settled, it should stay mostly dry, and also where we do see those brighter breaks with lighter breezes, actually temperatures not feeling too bad. For now, as we look towards the late evening and overnight, the winds are coming in from the east coast, so cloud amounts there will vary. Elsewhere, though, plenty of clear skies, lighter breezes generally the further west you go, and so we are seeing temperatures drop down to around freezing in the countryside for our towns, holding up at around 1 or 2 degrees, so still a chill in the air as we go into Saturday morning. Starting the weekend, similar to today, the feed of cloud will continue to work its way in from the east, and where the cloud is thick enough, we do have a few showers, but it stays breezy. They move through quickly. In between, holding on to those brighter breaks, highs of around 6 or 7 degrees, but in the winds, it's going to feel just that little bit colder. Saturday and into Sunday, the area of high pressure really securing itself over the UK. So again, clear skies, light breezes, a bit of frost around as we head into Sunday morning. And still for now, we do have that feed coming in from the North Sea. So through the next few days, cloud amounts will vary. We do have some brighter breaks in the mix, occasional showers, highs of around 8 and 9 by day, freezing overnight.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Border Weather.
Thank you, Ross. In just a moment, it's the national and the international news for you.
Helen will be here with a late update tonight at 10:30. But from all of us here for now, have a great weekend. Take care, and we'll see you again on Monday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.